Starting today, the Department of Social Welfare will be ridding the streets of orphans and beggars. Last year, they rolled out an operation to clear the streets of persons, particularly children, who've turned most streets in the country into their dwelling places. The initiative was, however, suspended owing to a lack of adequate data on these persons who were to be taken off the streets. After close to a year of data collection, the department says it's now ready to bring sanity onto the streets.
The Department of Social Welfare is an arm of the Ministry of Gender, Children and Social Protection. Child beggars, adults, orphans and delinquents are very common on major streets of the country's capital cities. A key factor driving these persons to the streets is poverty. To many road users, the phenomenon has become a nuisance as they are often harassed in traffic by mostly these street children for financial assistance. A few of them end up being knocked down by moving vehicles as a result of their carelessness on the roads. To address the problem, the Gender Ministry, through the Department of Social Welfare, introduced the Operation Get Off the Street Now for a Better Life campaign. Since its launch, the project has seen the collaboration between children and young adults who live their lives daily on the streets of the country's capital cities. Acting Director of the Department of Social Welfare, Daniel Nona, was optimistic more street children will be taken off the street following the revival of the project.
We are supposed to educate them. That is why we have started today. We are supposed to make sure that everybody in Ghana should be aware of what we are doing, because everybody is a stakeholder. So we have started to educate the street children to understand that the street is not a good place. So this is what we have started doing. It's not that, of course, most of them will not yet. We have gone to the street, we have talked to some street children, we have taken their data, but not everybody is aware. So we have started creating that awareness. This time around, what we've done is the Operation Get Off the Street Now for a Better Life. It's a comprehensive program. We are now trying to ensure that whatever case that we are handling, we handle it properly. We are not going to handle cases and leave them. We are not monitoring. We don't know what is happening. Most of the times, people carry them back, and that is the end. As you are saying, they usually come back because they don't have that. Nobody is checking on them again, and they are suffering. We don't know. And because of that problem in the home that is making them to come to the street, they encounter it again and come. But when you are able to monitor, you realize that this is what is happening there. Then you solve that problem before they come back to the street.
Head of Livelihood and Sustainable Units at the Social Welfare Department, Richard Ajete, emphasized that the department is keen on giving psychological assistance to those moved from the street before being reintegrated into the society.
After the categorization of the data, we have something we call it a reinforcement process. In the reinforcement process, which involves reintegration process, you have a health worker and a psychosocial person in place. They will move them through counseling before we start the linkages, because psychologically some of them are down, so there is a psychosocial counseling attached to the program, which will give them, some of them, a counseling on how to manage their affairs and what government intend to do for them. So I think that is provision made for that.
Some of the street children group leaders who spoke to JoyNews were excited about the project.
We welcome the whole idea of moving us from the streets. I know it's not safe for me, but I don't have a choice than to struggle on the streets. If the government says it is ready to help us leave the street, why not? We are grateful for that.
I accept government's offer to move from the street. Every day I go through a lot of hostel that is not present. I know the government can't move us from the streets without offering to give us jobs. So I am ready for any job the government will give me.
With the amount of data collected so far, the Department of Social Welfare expects to help reduce the menace drastically. Charity Emihil Battels reporting for JoyNews.
Well, I've been joined in the studio by the Deputy Director in charge of Standards Research, Monitoring and Evaluation at the Department of Social Welfare, Georgina Mensah. Welcome and thanks for your time, ma'am.
Thank you very much.
So this operation, Get Off the Streets for a Better Life, tell us more about it.
Yes, so we know children and other vulnerable groupings on the streets. The street is no place for any human being to live. They are there as a result of hardships or problems they are facing, varied forms of problems. And so we know also that when people live on the streets, they are exposed to a lot of physical as well as moral danger. And so as a nation, we equally need to plan for these persons and give them a better life. And that is all the project is about, getting them off the streets for a better life. How do you intend to give them this better life? Yes, this better life will come in many forms. This is a 5-year project. So currently we've been raising awareness, letting them know those on the street. It's not only about children, but all other persons on the streets. Sensitizing them, letting them know about the dangers involved in being on the streets. And this better life is about, we start with the data collection so that we know what their challenges are, we plan, and we work with them. It's going to be a gradual, for some categories, voluntary withdrawal from the streets when you have been shown alternatives to a better life. And then you are allowed to make your own choice, decide on how you want to get off the streets, and then we will assist you.
This project was supposed to take off last year, but we are being told that because you couldn't gather enough data, you had to postpone it. But do you have money to undertake this project at all?
Currently, we have some monies to do a few activities we have already started doing, and we are equally doing fundraising to get the monies we need to kick off the project of actually getting them off the streets. We have taken some data, piloted the tools we are using to collect the data in Accra, and we are helping them gradually.
Is this
as and when the money is coming?
Is this operation happening at the same time across the country?
It will eventually happen across the country, but currently we are piloting in Accra. Yes, so we have started with Accra.
Now you're in charge of research and evaluation, and over the years we've worked with the social department, and we know that one of the biggest challenges is financing.
Yes.
Sometimes even to run your day-to-day activities. I remember one time in Kumasi, my colleagues chanced on a woman who wasn't mentally stable, and well, they took them to the social welfare department, and they said, we don't have a place to keep them, you take them and find a place for them. So what's the guarantee that this particular project will eventually get these children and other vulnerable groups off the streets?
Yes, we are not doing this work in isolation. We are collaborating with a number of NGOs as well as other government agencies, and the intention is not to take all of them from the streets and keep them in the place. We are working gradually. In fact, there are some things you do not really need so much money to do. For instance, if a child on the streets decides, I want to go into apprenticeship, and you have an NGO that gives apprenticeship or supports, and after counseling the child decides, yes, I come from this place, so I want to go back to my home and then attend apprenticeship. You realize that you need just minimal money to let this child leave the streets and go into apprenticeship. So we are partnering with other organizations. It is not the Department of Social Welfare alone which is going to roll out this program. Of course, our ministry, the Ministry of Gender, Children and Social Protection, is equally supporting the projects, and we hope gradually, we may not get everybody at a time, but gradually we may succeed in taking significant numbers off the streets.
You're speaking of a more subtle approach to this, trying to dialogue, trying to help those on the street understand that they don't have to be there. I've encountered a number of street children, and speaking to them, one boy in particular told me, I don't come from a broken home. my home is fine. I just love the street life. He feels like as a 13-year-old boy, he can call the shots for himself. Nobody tells him what time to sleep. Nobody tells him what time to wake up. So for people like that, do you intend, after this 5-year period of the project, or even during the project, intend to use some amount of force? Because we know that the law, they're even flouting the laws by being on the streets in the first place. So in terms of beggars especially, do you intend to bring in other ways to deal with the problem?
Yes, but not immediately. Now we want to use persuasion. However, when persuasion fails, eventually force may be applied, because we know that some of their activities are illegal. They are not right. But at the moment, we are not going to apply force. We want to persuade them, convince them. So for instance, this young boy you are talking about needs counseling to be exposed, for him to realize that there are a lot of dangers involved on being on the streets, that he has a life, a future ahead of him. He will not continue to be a child. One day he will grow up and he wouldn't want to be begging or living his free life on the streets. So we are not giving a wholesale treatment to the issues, but we are going to tackle it on individual basis, so that it will be more lasting.
Do we know how much is costing government this 5-year project?
Well, we have done some estimates, which is quite huge, but like I said,
how much is it?
Currently, I cannot give the figure of it. Yes, I cannot. But even it will actually cost a lot. But it's not a one-time off thing. So as the years roll, we hope to work significantly to take these persons off the streets.
Are you well resourced to undertake this project?
Well, in terms of human resource, I'll say yes. But financially, we are hoping for the better. That is what I can say.
You're hoping from who?
From NGOs, from governments, and other stakeholders. Yes.
Tell us what the Social Welfare Department is doing today as we commemorate International Day for the Street Child.
All right, thank you very much. So today we have a community forum at Agbobulushi, inside the yard of Aggregates. And this is an occasion for us to meet with the street children and also listen to them. The theme for the project is turning words into reality. We always talk about street children, but most of the time we don't really listen to them. We don't give them opportunity for them to tell us what they want to be done to turn their situations around. So that is what we are doing today, to bring them together, interact with them, let them also come up with possible solutions to their plights.
Thank you very much for your time. Georgina Mensah is Deputy Director for Standards Research and Evaluation at the Social Welfare Department. Really appreciate your time. Enjoy the rest of your day.